I should start the stream first. I gotta make sure that works. Son of a... It's like I've never... Welcome everybody to Geekvice episode 210, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph, that is not Kip. We have a special guest for us tonight. We've got Billy Peck from Daydream Instruction Manual, Underground Inc., a fellow podcast Arcadian. I mean, are you in anything else? Like, what? It's like you're like a step below Eddie.
As far as podcasting goes, yeah. But then, like, yeah, I play in two bands, and I'm actually helping a third one. Yeah, I still do like a lot of extracurricular activity.
Yeah, you're like all over the place, and I know you started with Underground Inc., and then like Eddie like pulled you into Daydream. I don't know how that happened, but now you're on Daydream probably more than anyone else.
Yeah, as far as the Daydream crew goes, yes. Bart and Mike, who started it with Eddie, Mark. I mixed Mike and Bart and made Mark whatever. Anyway, Bart kind of stepped out first, not like officially gone or anything, but work schedule really got crazy for him, so he just kind of pops in when he can, and it recently kind of hit with Mike as well. Just the work schedule. Anyway, yeah, it kind of reduced down to just Eddie and I, and as of right now, for I'm not exactly sure. Like, it seems like maybe the next couple months, like, it might be moving to just bi-weekly for a little bit. Just, because life does take over, and I've got a lot of things, and Eddie has a lot of things, obviously.
Right.
And so, anyway, yeah, that's that.
Well, and it's kind of one of those things. It's like if real life would just, like step aside for a minute and just let us do this for, full time, then we would have way more time to do this kind of stuff. But
yeah,
the real world gets in the way, which is why we record at night.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I enjoy my Saturday mornings, well, I usually end up watching it on Mondays after Daydream records on Saturdays, and so it's like,
oh yeah,
so it's like, oh yeah, I could have been watching that Saturday morning, but no, I was like at a soccer game, or I was at this, or I was at that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, all right, this still works.
Yeah, you could like have it in your earbud or something. Like, you may not be watching it, but you can still listen.
Yeah, which is always fun. I enjoy watching it. That's one that I've actually started watching more frequently, and I think it's now it's forced it to show up on my Facebook feed now. So,
cool.
Like, I'll get on Facebook on Monday morning at work to see, because that's where I get my news too.
Oh,
I don't
sure.
have TV, and so it's like, oh, I get on. That's like one of the first things that pops up now, and I'm like, oh, apparently I've watched this enough. Facebook has learned. Put Daydream Instruction Manual at the top.
It's funny.
So yeah, it's good. Tonight, the big thing that we wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk X-Men. There's big news going around that Fox is selling a bunch of movie rights that include the X-Men, and Disney's trying to purchase these. Now there's a battle between... There's somebody else. What was it? Sony that was trying to buy some stuff, or
that would actually be interesting.
Yeah.
If you think about the world, building. But no, it was It was Comcast.
That's right,
Um,
Comcast. But
so basically, yeah, the deal was that Fox, like, willingly was just like, hey, we want to hand this portion of the Fox entity. Like, I think all Fox wanted to do was continue carrying the news and maybe sports. I don't remember that for sure, but
yeah,
like
well,
everything else they offered to Disney.
yeah.
And they're like, well, yeah, of course, we'll take it. And they thought it was just going to be hand to hand, like, we're good to go. And then government stepped in with, is this monopolizing? So, like, it puts it on a hold for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And so in that, Comcast is like, well, then it's still an open market and we're going to put in a bid. And I guess something came up because their big thing is like streaming and
Right.
internet and whatnot. And like something came up like in the UK that was like a much better like business acquisition for them. So they're like, no, we're going to go with that.
Well,
So
and Fox,
anyway,
yeah, in the global scheme, Fox actually owns Sky. I have to be careful and not call it Skynet, because that would be a whole nother thing. But Sky Broadcasting, that's a UK thing. Fox owns them, I believe, or they own Fox, or in some, like, somehow they're connected, and that's what Comcast wants to purchase, because Sky has a bunch of streaming stuff like BBC, and they stream a bunch of stuff overseas, and
yeah,
they
that
have a
makes a lot
whole
of
big thing.
sense.
So I think Comcast is wanting that, which, basically Fox is hemorrhaging money, and everyone has seen this coming for a while. Their movies have not made them enough money to really keep them going. Their other stuff is doing okay, but they're hemorrhaging money, and so they're having to sell some of these properties. Disney is going after the movie stuff that they can then bring in, mainly the X-Men, which would be awesome. And that's where we get into this whole thing. There's been attempts by Disney to put some TV shows out there that are X-Men related without being X-Men, because they still technically have the rights, I think, to say X-Men, which is why the show Gifted has worked out so well, because it's technically a Marvel TV show, but run on a Fox channel, so it can use some of the same connections, I believe. Maybe.
Well, Gifted is just, it's a Fox property.
Is that just a Fox property? I thought
Yep.
it had the Marvel
Yep.
stuff beforehand, but I could be.
Well,
I could be wrong.
I mean, so do the movies.
Well, I guess that's
They
true.
all have Marvel beforehand, and basically, like, from what my understanding is, like, yes, Fox owns all the cinematic rights, and that would be film, TV, whatever,
Right.
to the X-Men franchise and its properties. And at some point, like, they do still have to get approval from Marvel to do certain things. But at the end of the day, it's still all Fox related.
Right.
So there's things of like the nature of like in Deadpool, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, her character in that movie is like zero like what she is in the comics.
Right. Right.
And they had to go to Marvel and say, we are going to like change this character. Are you okay with that?
Right. That makes sense.
They're like, that's cool. We'll make the deal that you basically own Ego. We want to use that for Guardians of the Galaxy too. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, that's anyway. Yeah, so there's always been a working relationship between the two. So yeah.
Well, and
Anyway.
they've kind of needed it to really keep everything going, to keep, I mean, because I've enjoyed the Fox movies. They've not been my favorite, but I will say that the TV show The Gifted was right. Like, that was a home run for me. I freaking
Yeah.
love that thing. And as I got to thinking about it, someone asked me, like, why I liked it so much. And I think the whole reason I liked it is, to me, it was a live action remake of the 90s X-Men cartoon.
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, they had the
Um,
same kind of tone. They had the conflict between they had conflict between the mutants and the humans. It was there when the show started. It was there. That was
yeah.
already a conflict. It was established. They didn't have to build that up. It was already there. And then the conflict between the mutants and the mutants. And the only
Yeah.
difference between the Gifted and the TV show is the bad guys, the bad mutants aren't the Brotherhood. They're already gone. The good mutants aren't the X-Men. They're already gone. So
Right.
now it's just these rebels versus the Hellfire Club, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Um, yeah, there's so many things that I love about it as well. You know, it I mean, it harkens back to just really the core of what the X-Men just universe means in general, whether it be the cartoons, comics, or movies. You know, of there is the struggle of acceptance,
Yeah.
and you know, very much like the like the first X-Men film, or you know, the first three really.
Yeah.
You know, where you know, there's obviously like a love and an appreciation between Professor X and Magneto.
Mhm.
You know, they always, you know, they always had this thing together. They just didn't see eye to eye in certain aspects, and that's what split them up. But there was still always like a mutual respect.
And it's
And
yeah. And it was this idea, and this is where I think the best bad guys in anything, in my opinion, this is all, your mileage may vary. In my opinion, the best bad guys are the bad guys that aren't doing evil to be evil. They're doing, in their head, they're saying, hey, these people have wronged me. I just want justice. I just want what's right. I just feel that violence is the way that I need to go about getting it. And so they go about, it's like, it's Vandal Savage from DC. Vandal
yep,
Savage isn't out to destroy the world. He doesn't want the world destroyed. But in the comic books, he says, the world cannot exist the way it is. There are too many people on it. We're eventually going to cause this planet to collapse. I'm going to remove half of the population, and it's not because I'm evil. I'm doing this to save everybody else. Get rid of half and keep the other half. He just gets
yeah,
to, in his head, he's not doing it because he's evil. He's doing it because his motive, his idea is so altruistic that he
yeah,
doesn't see it being wrong. And that's what I've always felt like with Magneto. Magneto didn't he didn't he didn't hate all humans. He hated the humans that would persecute. He hated the ones that were evil. He hated the
right,
ones that treated him poorly. Because it harkened back to the World War II Nazi era stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And I feel like they've done a really good job in The Gifted to kind of pull that same kind of
yep.
feeling out. You
Right.
know,
And that's exactly right where I was going back with it, was going back to the Gifted. There's, you know, at first there isn't so much the struggle between the mutants themselves. It's they obviously know that they're stuck in a world where they are looked down upon in a major way. And you know, you got Trask Industries that are still at large, trying to, you know, just eradicate them basically.
yeah,
um and you know, it all just starts off as a thing of survival. And then, you know, as the series progresses, then yeah, we start to see you know, the kind of factions start to have some different views
Yeah.
And man, by the time that last episode comes around, like that is X-Men for days,
Yes.
you know?
Yes, it is. Oh, that was awesome. And just the way they split the group up, the way they, you know, um, the way they split up the siblings, it was just,
It's perfection.
yeah, it really was. And it just pulled, like, I didn't want that to be the last episode. I mean, that was a perfect ending. It is
Yeah,
well wrapped. If there's never a second season, this season would sit as a perfect bubble and just go like, it, it could it could be left right now and just picked up at any point down the road.
right.
And I don't
Luckily,
know.
luckily we are getting a second season.
That's awesome. I was just gonna say
Yeah.
I hadn't heard if there was gonna be a
Yes.
second
Yep.
season or not. So
Well, and that's, I'm sure we'll get into conversations about many things, but when it was announced that this Disney thing might be happening, it threw a lot of things up in the air
right,
of will things continue to get made and whatnot. And to stay at least on that basic section, like, yes, Fox is still a thing. It is still an ongoing, business.
yeah,
So, things like The Gifted and Legion are both coming back with second seasons.
Yeah, and
There's still X-Men movies coming out. So as of right now, we're good.
yeah. It's just where we goes in the future, and that's where, yeah. You brought up Legion. I mean, that's a good point too, because that actually second season premieres April 3rd. That date is
Yeah.
actually just dropped, just within this last week, and
Yeah.
so I mean that's even big too. The first trailer came out for it. I thought that looked really good because I enjoyed the first season of that. That is,
I didn't watch the trailer. It's
yeah, yeah. You don't
it's
like
the
being
thing of
spoiled.
there's a little bit of that, but it's kind of like I know what it looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm good.
It's
I don't need the hype machine. I'm
Right.
good. I'll watch it when it comes out, and
yeah.
I'll get everything at that point.
Right.
It'll all be a surprise. So,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be really good. It'll be good to see. I'm glad to hear that The Gifted is going to be coming back because I think that'll be really cool. And what I hope, and I would like to see, and I guess maybe your thoughts on this, would you like to see any cameos show up in The Gifted? I don't want any like recurring characters from the
Sure.
movies, but if there's some cameos, do you have some cameos that you're like, oh, this person would be perfect to just show up for just a little bit?
Yeah. I guess I didn't really put a lot of thought into that. I do think it's really cool how, like, it does in a sense connect, to the movies and whatnot. I'm gonna take just like a step back for a moment, just to say that, like, I love where it's at in the timeline of things, because, like, for the longest time, like, as far as the movies go, we haven't really seen what's going on, like, now.
Yeah.
Everything, like, the last, like, current thing that we saw was, either like the Wolverine or the end of Days of Future Past, which is just like a snippet of where things are, and then
Right.
Deadpool. Like, so we don't really know exactly where things are.
Well, in The Gifted even seems like it's almost ambiguous on when, like, it could really fit in a couple different spots within there, within the movie universe.
What I had heard is it's on the path of, like, where Logan goes.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Sense because it's talking about how like, we don't know exactly where the X-Men are or where the Brotherhood is. Like, as far as we know, they don't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
So to get back to the cameo thing, like, since it's not quite to say the Logan timeline of pretty much everybody's dead,
Yeah.
Uh, one so this is a go-to mutant for me anyway, but like I would love to see like Rogue show up.
Yes. Yeah.
She's one of my favorites anyway.
Right.
Um, and then I also think it would just be a fun like reunion to see of oh crap, what's his name? Ah, yeah. Now I can't think of his name. The main the dad, uh, you know the Von Strucker dad.
Oh,
Um,
oh, oh
uh,
shoot, what is his
yeah.
first name?
See,
I want to say Victor, and that's not right. But
what
yeah,
did you say?
I want to say Victor, but that's not right. That's Victor Von
No,
Doom.
of course, you know, like we'll have to
Yeah.
go with the John thing. We have these fancy devices that tell us everything.
Right? Exactly.
Stephen Moyer plays Reed Strucker.
Yeah.
So in I don't know if you watched it, but True Blood, he's Vampire Bill,
Okay.
and um, his love interest is Sookie Stackhouse, who is played by Anna Paquin, who is Rogue.
Oh, that would be
And
funny.
they got married in real life too.
Right.
So it would so like not that it would be like a major story thing in that sense, but
Right.
it'd be kind of neat to see, you know, like a little like True Blood reunion.
Right.
But then again, like I've always loved the Rogue character,
Yeah.
and she's always been one of those, you know, kind of like, you know, going back to just the way she is in the movies, you know, she's kind of that back and forth of like, do I want to embrace this or do I want to be normal? And it actually fits pretty well
Yeah.
within what's going on in this story. So that would be like the main one I would like to see. You had brought up someone
Emma
that I think would,
Frost.
right.
Emma Frost.
Yeah.
And that's I've always, especially since the Cuckoo sisters are in The Gifted, I would love to see Emma Frost just walk in and, you know, or just like them show up at some meeting like in the Hellfire Club, and there's just Emma Frost just standing there with her arms crossed and the look on their face go blank, just because, you know, in the comic books they were subservient to her. They were basically her
Well,
kids
yeah, weren't they
ish.
like taken from her DNA or something
Yeah,
like that?
some
Yeah.
really complicated thing to
Right.
try to recreate Emma Frost's incredible, you know, mind controlling powers,
Yeah.
and that's and it came up with these three that were the closest thing you could get to Emma Frost, and so it was like they were just like she could just turn them on and off at a blink, you know, and I just
Yeah.
think that would be awesome that they get, you know, at some point the three of them start getting lippy or something to the Black King who's there, which I'm not sure they can call him the Black King because that seems kind of like
Yeah.
off, you know, but
Yeah.
he's, you know, have him standing there and Emma Frost just standing in the background with her arms crossed, and then all of a sudden they just stop talking, you know. This is like
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. The other one that I thought of after you brought up Rogue that would be really cool and hasn't been in the movies a ton, but is one of my personal favorites, is Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
that would be somebody that would just, she's got just enough power set that it would be fairly easy to replicate on TV, you know, just the phasing in and out of things. They could do
Yeah.
that without a whole lot of work.
Well, and you know, she has the relationship with Blink,
Yeah,
you know, in Days of Future Past.
right?
You know, they're kind of part of, you know, the renegade mutants, you know,
Yeah.
that keep trying, you know, keep going back in time so they don't, you know, die.
Exactly.
So like there is like a built-in relationship there. You know, that could be just like, you know, the paper trail,
Right.
so to speak.
Yeah.
You have like, oh hey, this is where they met.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be really cool. And so I mean, there's lots of stuff they could do with The Gifted. I thought they've done a really good job. I'm excited where they go with it. I also felt like the introduction of the Von Strucker's the von Strucker kids, their
Yeah.
grandfather who was trying to suppress the mutant gene. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like that was a really good way for them to lead in to a story Will I was gonna say Will Wheaton, that's not right. Joss Whedon's
Oh
astonishing
yeah.
X-Men comic run. Because
Sure.
that comic book started with the idea that there was somebody had suppressed the mutant gene and they could basically erase it and turn you normal, when in reality they didn't actually turn you normal. That they were really
Right.
just trying to bring people in and collect all the
Yeah.
mutants, and that's what they were
Well,
doing. And so, like, that would be like, that's already something that they've played with in this universe, that it would be really kind of cool if down the road maybe that's what they could even feed into.
and a very interesting thing that, again, something that we might get into more in this conversation, but um, there's seeds being planted, you
Yeah.
know. But uh, you brought up Joss Whedon. As of the current moment, obviously there's no like real connection between the X-Men films and the MCU. But in Joss Whedon's Age of Ultron, he has Von Strucker in it,
Yep.
who had captured the twins, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Right.
Um, they are the descendants of him.
Right.
So just the interesting connections that now that there is a potential, connection, world building that could happen in the next couple years, you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And it's. I mean, that is kind of the awesome thing, and there's people that have kind of bashed this idea that that Disney's just going and purchasing all this stuff up, and honestly, I don't care about the other properties that Disney is looking to purchase from Fox in this deal. I just care, and I just think the cool thing is getting the X-Men back to where they can be, where that story building can be done, because Marvel has done such an incredible job with the MCU and all the different pieces that they don't have to go build a whole new universe. They can take the X universe that's already there, and it already kind of just molds in, and that it's you can just fit different pieces in. There's already little snippets of things that are different places, like the fact that the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are both in there. You could throw
Mm-hmm.
different other little things there. The big question, though, is some of the major stuff. Wolverine was a member of the Avengers at one point. Beast was a member of the Avengers in the comic books.
One of
Like,
the longest running.
yeah, these are
Yeah.
people that could just show up, and now granted, it's too late for them to show up in Infinity War,
Oh
but
yeah.
they could definitely show up with little cameos within other Marvel movies, just that are still in filming process. I mean, how cool would it be to see Beast in a Black Panther movie where he's not doing anything other than just working in the lab with Shuri, like just
Yeah.
building something, why not?
I mean, and as of right now, they can't do any of that on an official level. But that's the key word, on
yeah.
an official level. Like if they got Nicholas Hoult or Kelsey Grammer, either of the Beasts,
Yeah.
and just put them in a scene.
Yes.
You don't have to say it's Hank McCoy.
Right.
But if and when the deal does go through, well, there you go. You have it. Or, the obvious, Black Panther's wife.
Yes. Yeah. Although I really don't want it to be Holly Berry, but
It could be the new one.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Yeah,
Yep.
and that was, you're absolutely right. I didn't even think about that. That's a genius. Yeah, I mean, although they kind of, I mean, they'd end up having to do something with his girlfriend from the first movie, but that's easy to That's
People
just
break
writing.
up all the time.
Yeah.
Um.
So
So yeah. Yeah.
I just think it's cool. I think they leave a lot of things open. I like what they've done. I feel like The Gifted has left us enough seeds for storylines for them that they can build on to make it a long running series. Like I think you could go season after season. I would, and John and I have talked about this in other shows or other episodes where we personally feel like they should. I thought The Gifted's 10 episodes was ideal, and I think the 10 to 12 episode idea is good. I think we should start bringing the stuff back down a little bit. We kind of got a little crazy where we still look for these 20 to 24 episodes in a year, and it's like, let's bring them back down and let's do more shorter
Right.
series or seasons so that we can have a cleaner story from beginning to
It
end.
makes it tough, man. You know, especially like, you know, the big thing is, you know, at least for, you know, the things that we're fans of, like, you know, the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
There's like 4 or 5 shows now, and they're all 20 some episodes long,
Yeah.
and it's like that. I mean, that's a lot of homework.
Yeah. Well, and what's scary is I watch all this stuff through a server that keeps track of all that. So I have a playlist that puts all of it all together, and it
In
tells me at
order.
the bottom that it goes, hey, this is how many hours that this is. And when it starts measuring it in days, you're like, I have just watched like a month's worth of stuff. Like, you start
Yeah.
going back and look at it, it's like, no, this is like, it's not taken me months to watch. No, this is literally, if I just started at the beginning and wanted to go back and watch through all this, I would be watching it for 30 days straight. Like,
Right.
no breaks, 24 hours a day. It is 30 days worth of stuff. It's crazy.
Well, and when each episode with commercials is an hour,
Yeah.
you know, you're talking about, you know, 4 or 5 hours just to finish one block.
Yeah.
If you get behind. And that was what my wife and I did as we were like preparing to have our son. You know, we got, you know, and then just life, of course,
Right.
you know, like we got so far behind. We were like 6 weeks behind.
Yeah.
That times each show,
Yeah.
it was insane. The only reason why we ever caught up was because we were both off work, you know,
Right.
for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one advantage to having an infant in the house is, that,
Right.
you know, right afterwards you're like, oh, we put him, you know, he can hang out with us. We can
Yep.
turn on a show. Yeah, we're good. We could just
Yeah.
hang out here and watch TV. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and that's actually what's happened with John is he fell so far behind on stuff, and then he had a problem with his DVR where he lost a bunch of it, so they just stopped watching it, and they don't actually watch any of it anymore, and they keep saying they want to get back to it, but the only way they're getting back to it is on Netflix or something like that, where they're
Yeah,
still going to be a season behind, and so
It's very difficult to try and get through all that. And then, yeah, once you see the hours and days, it starts to feel like, you know, homework, and you're playing catch up, and it's just like it kind of takes the fun away from it.
it does a little bit. It does, and that's where I think I thought Gifted did really good with their number of episodes. Legion is kind of the same way, where they're keeping it on a tight episode list.
Yep.
And kind of to feed into it what Inhumans did with only being 8 episodes. Inhumans is another one that it was not. So to kind of jump into the Inhumans, I just finished it last night, and I will say that it is not my absolute favorite. It is not it is not the best show ever, but it is still really good. Like, I thought it was really good. It told a very good story. It gave you some ideas, and it planted some seeds that I think we're still going to see, even though there's not they said that it's done.
I highly doubt that it'll be back.
But what I
I
think,
liked it too. My wife and I both liked it. We actually were some of the few who went and saw. They presented the first 2 episodes as one large single episode in IMAX theaters.
yeah,
And we went and saw it that way. And wow, like there were scenes like there's the scene of like when they're like at the beginning they're like running through, you know, the jungle being chased, and like there's like kind of like a slow-mo like close up of like a boot going in through a puddle, and like you see it splat like on this IMAX screen. Like it was obviously shot for that. It was just like, wow. It was so artistic and cinematic looking that it's just like, dang.
yeah.
Like there was some serious effort just put into the cinematography of IMAX filmmaking.
Right.
And, we really enjoyed that first, you know, 2 episodes like that in the theater. And then, you know, we watched, you know, we made sure to watch that together, into the
and I would
TV
say,
series.
yeah, I would say that that's probably my biggest, like, that's the one part that I kind of didn't like. You could tell that they didn't have a budget, the budget that they needed for special effects and for CGI for the TV show. The first episode, or that hour long, first 2 episodes, had stuff in it like Medusa's hair moving, and had a lot of things. And then you could tell that they, afterwards, they kind of changed up how they were doing some things. They, you know, well, spoilers, people. It's a TV show. It's already done. And if I'm one of the last
most
people
people
in the
don't
world,
even like it anyway.
Right.
So you know,
they shave Medusa's head.
right?
And to me, like, I'm like, when it happened, I was like, oh, that's torturous. Like, that's pure evil. And then I got to thinking about it, like, oh no, that was a conscious decision. Like, they did that so they never have to worry about her hair never moves again. It takes place in a short enough period of time frame that her hair's never going to grow out, and so they don't have to worry about, like,
that was the thing. Watching it, I'm like, man, I love this. This is awesome.
Yeah,
you know, everything's so cool. Then like, the head gets shaved. I forget. Something happens to Lockjaw, and it's like, oh yeah, that's so we don't see as much of that come the actual TV series.
To slow down and
which, you know, I would rather something like that happen, like, you know, write it appropriately to where,
and
you don't screw yourself by having terrible looking CGI because you can't afford it.
Or even the same side of it, where it's like, you know, like with Lockjaw, and this is the big argument with anything that can just teleport around and just jump wherever. That was always a big thing with Nightcrawler, even in the comic books, and they wrote it into the comic books that, you know, he can only go so far. Blink was the same thing in The Gifted. Like, I can't go where I can't see. If I've never been there, I can't get you there because I'll put you in a wall. It makes perfect sense. And with Lockjaw, they kind of do the same thing where,
I don't know if it goes through your feed, but you're very wobbly.
Yep, and I'm gonna fix that real quick. We will pause that and fix this by going here and going back here. And now it should be fixed.
Sounds even better.
There we go. Yeah, it happens every once in a while. I get a little bottleneck in Skype, and it gets.
It sounded kind of like the Crimson and Clover song.
There you go. But the with Lockjaw, it's that ability. Like, it could just go. Lockjaw could take anyone anywhere they needed to go, so they never had to really go anywhere. So if you get Lockjaw, if Lockjaw gets hurt and can't teleport as much, then you're able to then it forces the characters to actually move by foot, and then allows the story to progress at a more natural pace instead of just jumping
Right.
around. But I thought the way they did it was all really well done. You noticed with Gorgon, you saw him without, like, with his, big
His
haunches and
hooves.
big
Yeah.
hooves in the first episode, and a little bit in the second,
Sometimes.
third episode, occasionally. But then once he got to Earth, like, he was walking around without him, and then it was like, you know what? Then he put them back on, and he had the boots and the long pants, and
Right.
so it covered it, and so
Yeah.
then you didn't have to have the CGI of the fur and the hooves and all that stuff, which I didn't feel like it took away from the show because of the way the writing was done and all that stuff. It didn't feel forced. It was just stuff that I had noticed because I was looking for it, and if you weren't looking for it, then you wouldn't have noticed.
Well, and that's a good thing. That's something that I've started to pick up on. Is, if we look for things, we're obviously going to see it.
Yes.
But a lot of people go like, I see it, so it's crap.
Right. Yeah.
So I like that, like, you can separate that, like, yeah, I see it. Maybe it could be better, but like, that doesn't, like, ruin things.
No. Well, it's the same reason why, if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they have the people who have abilities in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. have specific abilities that they look normal.
Yeah.
Or they look so hideously bad that they have to cover themselves. So then they can look normal. So because you can't have Beast in a TV show. You can't have a giant blue beast running around in a TV show because you just can't afford it. Eventually, like, you can't have that every episode. So, unless the whole thing's going to be animated, a la the 90s cartoon, you have to control what you can, you have to be able to write in how you want to handle some of that stuff. And
yeah.
So I thought they did a really good job with it. I enjoyed it. So here, are you watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes.
Are you caught up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because they've had this big break where they haven't had anything.
They just had the one episode back. Yeah, I watched it.
I haven't watched the newest episode.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So I don't know what happened there. But so the last episode I saw was, them getting off of the planet and coming back from the future, but we don't know where they've gone to yet because that's in this next episode that I haven't seen yet. But we know that Quake destroys the world, supposedly. In the Inhumans that we just saw, which was an ABC joint, they just came to Earth. They've just transported everybody from the moon to Earth. And Black Bolt says to Medusa, signs, which I also thought was another thing that was amazingly well done. His facial features was just incredible. Like, I really enjoyed it. He did an amazing job of acting with never saying a word. Even when he wasn't signing, just the look on his face was so dramatic. He did a really good job with it. But he made the comment to Medusa when in the last episode that they maybe gave up one evil for a greater evil type thing, or set themselves up to be in more trouble. And that is, like, makes me start to wonder if what we just saw on the Inhumans coming there, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming back to Earth from the future Earth, if now all of a sudden at some point in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. we're going to see the Kree show up. And
they have.
Well, they did, but they did in the future.
Well, I mean, Kree have shown up. They've actually been a constant thing. Not constant, but like they've been around since like the second season of S.H.I.E.L.D. they've shown up a couple times.
Yeah, but they've never been like it hasn't been
No, no.
that Kree. I mean, more like the Kree invasion that come
Oh,
back
sure, sure.
because Adelan was
Hmm.
destroyed. That set off something that notified them. Oh, there our experiments are there, because in the comic books, that's who created the Inhumans, were the
Right.
Kree.
Yeah.
So it's like, ooh, now is this what we're going to like? Have we just now connected the Inhumans to the Agents of Shield universe,
Sure.
and now are we going to get? Maybe we don't need a second season of Inhumans because now the Inhumans are going to be part of the Agents of Shield TV show.
I would totally be down with something
They're
like that. I
they're both
mean,
owned by
it,
Disney.
it's a shame that the series didn't do well at all.
Yeah,
Um, I think we're lucky we even got it, because I mean, like, they were so upset by how badly it did in the theater that I think there was even like talk of like maybe it wouldn't even release, but they put everything into it that's like, well, it's just going to be like a one-off series and that's it.
yeah,
And I thought there was so much like great character development that I would love to see those characters some more.
yeah,
Like, yeah, put them in Shield, or put them in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I don't care, do something.
yeah. Exactly. I
um,
want more stories about them. I want to know more about Triton. I want to know about because
yeah,
he looked like a badass at the end. I'm like, oh, no wonder they had him fake shot at the beginning,
yeah,
because if he would have been in through the whole thing, he would have just wiped everyone out because he's a badass fighter. And those were awesome, well choreographed fight scenes. I loved those. I thought they were
right,
good. I liked the um I really liked the idea that they fed on the caste system, and Maximus was, the whole thing started off with him trying to remove the caste system, which I thought was really good.
yeah,
I
yep,
didn't like how he kind of went all in for himself. I thought it was really interesting that they made him human, and he was no longer an inhuman. In the comic books, he was still inhuman. He was just an inhuman with, like, he was. I can't even remember what his power was in the comic books, but I want to say that it was along the same lines of what they kind of used him for in here. He didn't
hmm,
look anything, he didn't have a special ability, but he just had a
right,
way of influencing people.
right,
And he was more dangerous with his words. He was the opposite of Black Bolt. Black Bolt
right,
can't say anything. Maximus said too much. And I
yeah,
thought that was a great dichotomy. I think it would have been really cool if if they would have almost made that his inhuman ability. But
yeah.
I liked
Well,
how they
and
they made
it
him not an inhuman.
right, the story of it too. I mean, it's very reminiscent of it's Thor and Loki.
Yeah, yeah,
It's these like half brothers. That one doesn't actually have all the abilities of the other one, or the clouts of the other one, and he feels like everything was handed just to the brother because he's the golden child.
yeah.
So yeah, a lot of similarities with that, and which is just another reason why, like, I I personally, like, I don't see. I mean, yes, I saw that it was a show that didn't quite have the budget to do a lot of things, but I don't see why it was just so hated.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
because like it hits a lot of, like, story wise, it hits a lot of familiar tones that people enjoy. I
and
don't know.
so do you remember? I want to say it was was it the first season of Agents of Shield that the first half of it was rough, and
Yeah.
then Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier happened, and the collapse of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after that was amazing, and it built into that.
Right.
This almost makes me feel like Inhumans, and this is part of the reason what gave me this idea that this is going to connect to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is Inhumans almost feels like that first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
It was good. It told a story that needed to be told, but now I almost feel like, ooh, if the second, like, you could almost continue that story along into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and now all of a sudden, not only is Inhumans going to get really awesome, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be able to feed into that really awesomeness. Like, I really enjoyed this first part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, don't get me wrong, I think what they've done in this season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is some of the best writing
Yeah.
and storytelling in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the entire time.
Right.
But now I feel like that Inhumans could actually go and get better with the
Well,
inclusion of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
and I think that's what some of it is, you know, going back to like that first season of Agents of Shield. Sorry, like everything
Yeah,
froze up for a moment.
you hiccuped.
Anyway, so everything that was happening in that first season, like at first, like I almost gave up watching it
Yeah.
because like that was I was watching that like it was kind of like all around the same time as of you know Arrow came out and Flash came out and Gotham
Mm-hmm.
came out and you know we had like all these superhero shows and it was like there's a lot to watch and the good ones are going to stay and the bad ones are going to have to go.
Yeah.
And like I threw Gotham out and I was about ready to throw Agents of Shield out too and I stuck on and once you know everything happened with Captain America
Winter
Winter
Soldier.
Soldier
Mm-hmm.
I was just like oh everything that was seeds again.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
seeds are being planted and none of it makes sense while you're watching it. But
Yeah.
once that happens, all the stuff that happened made sense. And
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh." And I think that is part of the problem of like today's culture. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah. Well,
everybody wants everything right now, and they're not interested in letting a story develop.
yes.
Once that story develops, then it's like, oh, you know, and again, there's so much content out there right now that,
Well,
yeah, it makes it difficult to stay on things. And if it doesn't instantly grab you, then you leave. But if you stick around, there's a good possibility you have some really awesome payoff.
yeah. And that writing, that style of writing is reminiscent of, the comic book industry. Like that's the here. Yeah, we've got a 22-page story that or a 22-page book that we are going to tell you a story in, but you really need the 100-page story that we're going to tell over these 5 issues. So just hang in there because we've got to set the tone and the seeds through the first couple,
Right.
and then it's
Yep.
going to start getting better on the back end. But that's hard, that's a hard thing to, and honestly, I think that's where the Inhumans falls, is
Yep.
right now Inhumans just set a bunch of stuff up. They didn't really tell you a full, complete story. They just set up a bigger story.
Yeah.
Because them living on the moon wasn't the story. Them getting rid of their caste system isn't the story. The story is now they're on Earth,
Right.
and they're going to have to deal kind of the same way in The Gifted, the same way the X-Men or the mutants had to deal with the humans. Now you have Inhumans that are going to have to deal with humans. You're going to have that same sort of conflict. You're going to have government trying to take stuff from them. You're going to have them trying to live on their own and just keep everybody away. It's that conflict now that they've set up. but now we're not going to get, you know,
Yeah.
they don't, now they've been told, oh, no, we don't want any more of it because the ratings weren't good. Well, now they don't get to continue their story. You know, it's like they spent all this time setting stuff up, and to me, I thought telling a good story, but it was really, the premise was to set stuff up. It was to get stuff ready, because you know Maximus isn't dead. You know he's not gone. He said even there's enough food to last here forever.
Right.
He's going to get out eventually, and he's going to actually go after the Inhumans, or he's going to start working with the humans to go against the Inhumans, and it's just going to lead to more conflict. They set that up, but they just can't finish telling the story, and that's kind of the bummer.
Yeah. No, so hopefully it gets integrated a little bit, you know, into S.H.I.E.L.D. or something, you know, like, now at this point, like, we know their story.
Yeah.
I
still want an Inhumans movie, but...
Huh?
I want an Inhumans movie. I want them to be able to spend the budget that they spend on, like, Guardians of the Galaxy and things like that, and just give me an Inhumans movie. Because, like you said, I didn't watch it on IMAX, but the copy that I have is the full-length, widescreen, high-def, 1080p, you know, version, and it's amazing. And like I said, Medusa's hair is badass, and I want more of that. Like,
I know.
Give me a budget that you can do the CG in and tell a story, and I'm in. I'll go see it.
You know, but that's the thing, you know, do you think they even do it? You know, in movie form? Like, you know, at one point it was going to be a movie, and then whatever happened, and that it got turned into a TV series, and like, you know, I'm sure that you would, as do I, would want to see it with these actors, but nobody's a name actor.
Right.
How's that going to do in the theater, especially now that it kind of has a soiled name?
Yeah.
You know, obviously, like, Marvel stamp in the films obviously does well regardless.
Right. But they do well because they've never put out utter shit.
Right.
You know, they haven't put out anything that the critics looked at it and said, this is terrible. And now with Inhumans, that's probably Inhumans is the lowest rating of anything Marvel has put their name to. That's the stuff that's
between that and Iron Fist, and coincidentally enough, it's the same showrunner.
Well, that is true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, like, I'd be surprised if that guy doesn't still have a job, because again, you didn't really care for Iron Fist much, did you? It's another one that I really did like, and again, I thought it was, you know, all story building and whatnot. Yeah. But regardless,
and that's
neither show. Basically, nobody liked them.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. And my problem with Iron Fist was kind of I kept waiting for them to give me something. You know, like Inhumans, I felt like they gave me something. They gave me a conflict between two characters, and I felt like Iron Fist left that out for me. I didn't feel like I understood why Black Bolt and Maximus weren't getting, you know, were having this conflict. I didn't understand in Iron Fist why Iron Fist was fighting against these other people, and I didn't feel like Iron Fist understood why he was fighting against these other people.
Sure.
But that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
We could go for another hour to talk about all that. Right. We'll save that for another episode. You know, one of those where John's sick and, you know, I need somebody to cover.
All right.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think that is probably a good place where we can wrap this in here. We both really enjoyed The Gifted. We both really enjoyed Inhumans. I recommend you going and watching Inhumans and The Gifted. The Gifted is, go see that, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to watch the Inhumans because you heard the critics or you heard other people say that it was bad, go give it a chance. Like, go watch it yourself.
Right.
Just like everything else, your mileage may vary. you might actually find that you fit more in line with myself and Billy, and
Yeah,
actually enjoy it.
and that's the thing. Like, I don't know, like, would you be, just because you didn't enjoy Iron Fist, would you tell someone like, oh no, don't watch it?
I, no, no, they should at least check it out.
Right.
Watch the first couple, and if it doesn't hook you, it's not gonna get it. Like, in my opinion, it doesn't get better. As this, I was the type of person that said, I was just like you with Agents of Shield. It's like, you know what? I'm not really liking this. I'm not really feeling it in that at the beginning, and I heard that there's something big that's coming. Just hang in there, and I hung in there, and it was good. And I told everyone else afterwards. I was like, you know what? The first half is rough. Get through the first
Right.
half, and once you get to that point in the timeline, it goes light speed, and it's amazing, and it's well
Right.
worth watching. I mean, I watched all of Iron Fist. I do not,
Sure.
like, I can't go halfway. I've never gone halfway. I even finished the first season of Gotham, and I couldn't stand Gotham. But that's,
Me neither.
You know,
that's,
again,
I guess my point with it is what you were saying with Inhumans is, like, we know with what the Marvel Universe has had to offer over all of these years, that especially with film, like you said, like, even if there's a couple movies here or there that people don't like, or that you and I don't like, or whatever, like, overall track record's good, and there is meaning behind watching everything, as is with Agents of Shield or Inhumans, or not liking Iron Fist but finishing it, because well, maybe this is complete garbage, but it is still leading into something major.
Yeah.
And
who knows? The second season could be amazing, because maybe they get a different showrunner, and
right,
it turns out really good.
So I guess with my point with all that is, one, like, the track record of what Marvel has done is more proven to be good.
Yeah.
So,
give it a chance.
if give it that chance. If like, I know Ben from Underground Inc. Recently told me, he's like, yeah, I need to catch up on some stuff. He's like, there's this, there's that. I don't even know if I want to watch Inhumans. It's like, dude, just watch it.
Yeah. Just check it out.
And not just him, but anyone. Formulate your own opinion.
Yeah. That's fair. Absolutely.
But yeah, Gifted. Yeah. To wrap it up back to Gifted. Man, it became our favorite show of any of the comic shows, just because of how good it is. As much fun as I had with the Arrowverse, it kind of becomes a villain of the week type of thing, and this was, it wasn't that. It was a legit full season story. Yes. And the payoff at the end, again, it's just like, it's everything that, like, you want something to live up to. Finish the series, watch that last episode, and you're like, if you for some reason weren't feeling X-Men, that last episode's like, okay, this is officially X-Men now.
Yes.
And moving forward, it's gonna be that again, and I'm really excited. Yeah. So anyway, I'll stop rambling, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Billy, I want to thank you for coming on and talking X-Men with me, because I love the X-Men. I'm a huge X-Men fan. I have a lot of their comic books. I've been reading and watching X-Men since I was a wee little lad. And so this is just awesome. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find more of you and how they can follow all the fun stuff you do?
Okay, I suppose the best way you can find me specifically would be on Twitter, at ZombillyHorror. I post about my podcasts and my bands, Underground Inc. and Daydream Instruction Manual, like you had mentioned, and my bands Before I Burn and Graveyard Smash. Basically, if you were to search any of those titles and just put Omaha in a Google search, like they'll all pop up. And that the Twitter would probably be the best place. And make sure, since we're all part of the Podcast Arcade, that you go to thepodcastarcade.com and you can find all of our shows.
Yeah.
Underground Inc., Geekvice, Daydream Instruction Manual, all the others that Eddie's in.
Yeah.
And
Dads,
Falcon Punch Thunder Dads.
Yeah.
Make Eternia Great Again.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one.
Yep. And you can get to all of our shows and our Facebook page and all that through thepodcastarcade.com. And there you go.
That's right. You can, and of course, if you guys want to find any more stuff on Geekvice, you can check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/geekvice. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you get to watch this stuff live, which is not being recorded on our normal Tuesdays. So if you were sneaky and had the notifications up, you would have seen that this went live on an earlier day, and you could have watched it and got it before. It's a whole week before it's going to get released to everyone else. But that is tiny.cc/Geekvice. And of course, we're on Twitter. Well, at least I'm on Twitter at Geekvice. John, who's not here, Kip, who's not here, John, Kip, they're the same person, in case you hadn't figured that out yet.
Right. You're wobbly again.
I went wobbly again, right towards the end. All right.
Yep.
Let's switch that. There we go.
Oh, that's better.
Fix that. Stupid Skype.
Gosh, dang it.
John is at Kip Killigan. And of course, as always, you can email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone, for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next time.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.
All right. Done on there. And then go back to that screen. Stop